many of you have ever had a problem that you've tried to solve with violence or aggression? Maslow's quote, "He that is good with a hammer tends to think that everything is a nail." It reminds me of like the situation, you know, where, well, it's got two meanings. On the one hand, it could mean that if you are aggressive and you're used to pounding things into submission, you would use that for everything. And the other way it could be taken is that if you can solve one problem in a certain way, you'd apply that way to every different problem you encounter. That's pretty much all I got. All right, so situations you have, like with your loved ones or friends, you know, and you solve a problem that way, like by talking it out. You know, that works for that situation. But if you have a problem at school with, I don't know, time management, for example, you have to go a totally different approach for that one. I think basically it's a good thing to talk out your problems rather than use aggression. Most problems can be solved, you know, if you just sit down with a person and you explain to them how you feel. You have a good heart-to-heart conversation. And I think that's it.
All right, Natalie, I thought you started off really well with a nice rhetorical question. The audience saw it as kind of a survey, but I think that in the end you have an interesting interpretation of the quote, and you're on a good track there. The problem is that you don't do anything with that interpretation of the quote. You don't say, you know what, and that's a good way to act, or it's a bad way to act, or it's really the most efficient way of solving a problem, or it's a terrible way of solving the problem. You just kind of tell us what the possible interpretations are, and then you kind of dive into maybe an example or an illustration of the point without figuring out what you're going to say about it with that example. And I think that that's a problem. You also need to create a structure for your supporting points, because you don't really have much to say past that opening interpretation. And in fact, you say that to the audience. You've got two exits, you know, one, and I guess that's what I was going to say, and then you said, well, I think I thought of something more to say, and then you say it, and then you say, and now I guess that's it, you know. So it really is clear that you kind of are giving up without having had a plan as to where you were going to go with the speech, which is strange, because I thought that you had a very nice, like I said, opening idea here. You just needed to figure out what you were going to do with that opening idea. So content never really develops very much. On the other hand, the presentation is, for what I saw and for the limited opportunity we had to evaluate, it's only a minute and a half in your presentation. You did a nice job projecting your voice. I thought there was very good variety in your voice. There weren't any hesitations that were really obvious, except for the two spots where you, like I said, prematurely ended your speech. I didn't notice any drawbacks. I only got a couple of chances to look and see about gestures and facial expressions. They all seemed fine. Your eye contact was not as consistent as it could be with all parts of the room, but part of that problem is because you're never really engaging with the audience. You're really just thinking of the next thing to say instead of saying, now let me tell you what this really means, and talking to everybody sort of like you're just in front of everybody thinking out loud, and you want to do a little bit more engagement there. All right, thank you.